So today we are progressing to the concluding verses of this chapter of Lord Krishna's entrance into Dwarka, and our focus will be on text 33, 34, and 35, though I'm going to give a specific attention to text 33. So let's begin with our meditation on Shri Radha Madhava. Here they are. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopichana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Gopichana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana, Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanatari, Yamuna Tira Vanatari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Vishnu Pavad Paramhamsa Parivajagacharya Stota Rasatasi Simar, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavin Ki Jai, Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Shri Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kund, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi, all gloriously assembled devotees, all gloriously assembled devotees, all gloriously assembled devotees, all glorious to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Krishna Devi, Gurudasa Jayadvaita Swami Niti Namani. So I seek the blessings of all the devotees who are gathered, who regularly come together for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam on a Sunday, and hopefully for my purification, for all of our upliftment. This Srimad Bhagavatam comes before us to encourage us and inspire us in our devotional service. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'm going to begin with, just before we get to the verses, it's good to just set the scene, set the context again, look at where we've come from, where we're going, and what the significance of today's discussion and study will be. So this chapter, Lord Krishna's entrance into Dwarka, the Lord returns back to his kingdom. He's the king, and he has a huge family of 16,108 queens, each of them established in their unique palaces, and children, and what to speak of then the variety of citizens. So after blowing, he arrives on the city, he blows his conch to announce his arrival, and the citizens of Dwarka immediately come before him, and they begin to glorify the Lord in many, many beautiful descriptions. And then, after hearing about the beautiful form, decoration of Lord Krishna in his full opulence, we then hear verses that begin to immaculately describe the wonderfully constructed kingdom of Dwarka, We hear about its palaces, its roads. We hear about how it's very, very clean and how it's very, very pleasing and very beautiful. And then when the Lord enters, we hear how he's greeted by a whole array of artists and singers and dramatists who all take part in pleasing the Lord, welcoming him through wonderful production. And then the Lord, we see something very moving in Lord Krishna's reciprocation with each and every citizen. He greets each and every one of them in very specific ways. He bows his head, he exchanges greetings by embracing. We even hear of him shaking hands. For some citizens, he just glances, he looks at them, he smiles at them. And with those smiles, he gives assurances and he awards benedictions. And it doesn't matter who the citizen was, in whatever ranking, even the lowest ranking citizen was acknowledged by Krishna in his arrival. And that is just the epitome, the wonderful example of the king in his connection with his people, with his citizens. We're getting ready for Rath Yatra, and one of the things we tell the media is, this is the one day that the Lord of the universe, comes out to glance on every citizen of the city. And just reading through chapter 11 draws a parallel of bringing Jagannath out to glance on everyone, making sure everybody gets to see his beautiful smile and his wide eyes. But here Krishna demonstrates what it really means for him to ensure that he's fully reciprocated with every citizen that is living within the kingdom of Dwarka. And then after describing the Lord's beauty as he entered the city, and he immediately went to offer his obeisances to his parents, another moving part of the chapter. And after offering his obeisances to his parents, then he enters into a more intimate part of his arrival. And that is the concluding part of this chapter, where we hear about the unique and unparalleled women of Dwarka, specifically the leading women of Dwarka, the queens, the consorts of the Supreme Lord. And here, as we pick up text 33, 34, and 35, we're going to hear something quite unique. In fact, these verses can be used for demonstrating the unique position of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We could use these verses to present a theological perspective of who actually Krishna is, and why we're worshiping him, why we're focused on him here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but also in our own lives. Why is this focus on Krishna over and above any avatar, any incarnation, what to speak of the administrators of the universe, the demigods, and any other mundane personality, though they be of strength and beauty and wealth? Why Krishna? So if we bear that question in mind, we'll hear quite vividly the answer to that as we go through these verses. So here's text 33. Yadyapyaso parshvagato raho gatas tathapi tasyang grihi yugam navam pade pade ka virameta tatpadach chalapi yadshtir najahati karhachit. I'll do the word for word because they're quite revealing here. Yadi, although, api, certainly, aso, he, Lord Shri Krishna, parshva gataha, just by the side, raha gataha, exclusively alone. Tathapi, still, tasya, his, Angrihi Yugam, the feet of the Lord, Navam Navam, newer and newer. Pade, step, Pade, in every step. Ka, who, Virameta, can be detached from. Tat Padat, from his feet. Chalapi, moving. Yat, whom. Shrihi, the goddess of fortune. Na, never. Jahati, quits. Karhichit, at any time. Translation. Although Lord Shri Krishna was constantly by their sides, as well as exclusively alone, his feet prepared them to be newer and newer. Sorry, his feet appeared to them to be newer and newer. The goddess of fortune, although by nature always restless and moving, could not quit the Lord's feet. So what woman can be detached from these feet, having once taken shelter of them? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Conditioned living beings are always after the favor of the goddess of fortune, although by nature she is moving from one place to another. In the material world, no one is permanently fortunate, however clever one may be. There have been so many big empires in different parts of the world. There have been so many powerful kings all over the world, and there have been so many fortunate men, but all of them have been liquidated gradually. This is the law of material nature. But spiritually, it is different. According to Brahma Samhita, the Lord is served very respectfully by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. They are always in a lonely place also with the Lord. But still the association of the Lord is so inspiringly newer and newer that they cannot quit the Lord for a moment, even though they are by nature very restless and are moving about. The spiritual relation with the Lord is so enlivening and resourceful that no one can leave the company of the Lord once having taken shelter of him. The living beings are by constitution feminine by nature. The male or enjoyer is the Lord, and the manifestations of his different potencies are feminine by nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, the living beings are designated as Para Prakriti, or the superior potency. The material elements are Apara Prakriti, or inferior potency. Such potencies are always employed for the satisfaction of the employer or the enjoyer. The supreme enjoyer is the Lord himself, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 5:29, the most very famous verse, Bahunam, not Bahunam Janmanamante, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, that verse. The potencies, therefore, when engaged directly in the service of the Lord, revive the natural color, and thus there is no disparity in the relation of the potent and the potency. Generally, people engaged in service are always seeking some post under the government or the supreme enjoyer of the state. Since the Lord is the supreme enjoyer of everything in or outside the universe, it is happiness to be employed by him. Once engaged in the supreme governmental service of the Lord, no living being wishes to be relieved from the engagement. The highest perfection of human life is to seek some employment under the Lord's supreme service. That will make one extremely happy. One need not seek the moving goddess of fortune without the relation of the Lord. I'm going to read the next two verses as well so that we get a context of where we're going with our discussion, and then we'll begin the discussion. Let me just find the verse because it's covered. Evam Nipanam Shitibhara Janmanam Akshohinibi Parivritta Tejasam Vidyaya Vairam Swasano Yathanalam Mito Vadaino Parato Nirayudha. The Lord was pacified after killing those kings who were burdensome to the earth. They were puffed up with their military strength, their horses, elephants, chariots, infantry, etc. He himself was not a party in the fight. He simply created hostility between the powerful administrators, and they fought among themselves. He was like the wind, which causes friction between bamboos and so sparks a fire. Text 35. Sa aishe naralokesmin avartina spamayaya remestri ratna kutasto bhagavan prakrito yatha. That supreme personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, out of his causeless mercy, appeared on this planet by his internal potency and enjoyed himself amongst competent women as if he were engaging in mundane affairs. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swaha Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Shagarajatam Shahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tvang Sajivam Shadvetam Shavadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitangscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, the beginning of the chapter, Krishna describes an upside down tree. He's describing the material world. When we sit on the banks of a river or we sit on the banks of a lake, and we look into the body of the water and we see the reflection, we see that the trees that are standing on the banks are reflected. And reflection is very interesting. The topmost part of the real substance appears to be the bottommost part within the reflection. And so we learn that this material world is a reflection of the reality of spiritual kingdom, spiritual relationship, spiritual activity, spiritual love. And in this verse 35, we hear of Krishna's appearance in this world and his behavior in this world, which appears as if he's engaging in just simple mundane affairs. Mundane affairs. And mundane affairs specifically relate to affairs with women and affairs of the state, affairs of the world, for personal gain. Let's just go back to our text 33 What text 33 and text 34 reveal is how Krishna is not mundane, how Krishna is not of this material world, because the reflection behaves in a particular way, yet Krishna is behaving in another way. And we see that revelation through these two verses. When we think about mundane, when we think about reflection, when we think about this material world, we think about the mode of passion. This entire mundane experience is the experience of the mundane passion, mundane mode of passion. And there are two things that epitomize, signify, or kind of couch behavior in the mode of passion. The first behavior in the mode of passion is sexual behavior. And the second behavior in the mode of passion is violence. And text 33, we learn something about Krishna's relationship, what may appear to be on a mundane sexual platform, his relationship with the queens of Dwarka. And on text 34, we hear of the other extreme of the mode of passion, which is violence. But we hear how Krishna is positioned within those two perceived extremities of the mode of passion. In text 33, Krishna appeared, the focus of Krishna is on his feet. Although Shri Krishna was constantly by their sides, parshvagataha, just by their side, constantly by their side. That's the position. The husband is by the side of the wife is by the side of the husband. It's just very natural. Rahagataha, rahasya, which means confidential, very private, which means when he is alone, exclusively alone with the queens. So we know that each queen had their palace. He was present in each palace simultaneously, something that even bewildered Narad Muni. But exclusively alone, but just by their side. Now, let's just pause and think about being by someone's side constantly or being exclusively alone with somebody in the reflected mundane world. Well, immediately we know it's very hard. It's very hard to just stay with one person, stay with a small group of people constantly. We had experience of that in lockdown. We couldn't leave the house. We could go for a quick walk, and we were constantly just with the family, the same people. And I'm sure we all have our stories to tell of the challenges of constantly being by the side of the same people. We need a break. We need to get, okay, it's my turn to go for a walk, and well, can we go for a walk together? Well, okay, but I need to go for a walk on my own later on because I just need to be on my own. Or in other words, I don't want to be with you all day long. There's this very natural resistance. Or if we are side by side and exclusively alone within this mundane reflection, we become familiar with that person or those group of people. And we become so familiar that we begin to kind of, well, at least let's say we don't see newer and newer parts of them, or we see parts of them that we no longer like, or we kind of think, really? But in the substance of the spiritual experience that's being revealed here by Srimad Bhagavatam, is that Krishna, he's side by side with the queens, he's exclusively alone with the queens, but the experience is newer and newer. And interestingly, the queens give attention here to Angrihi Yugam, the feet of the Lord. And they're described as Navam Navam, newer and newer. Pade Pade, every step, in every step, these feet of Krishna are newer and newer. Now, Krishna has just returned from a journey from Hastinapur. He's arrived, and immediately his feet are being described as newer and newer. Now, again, if I may bring you back to the mundane experience of traveling and coming home, and we may get a bit of a fanfare when we return home after traveling, but our mundane feet after traveling cannot be described as newer and newer. I'm sure, and stay with me on this, and I'm sure we've all had experience of returning, and the one part of our body after traveling that is the most shocking is our feet. After traveling, they smell. After traveling, you may find some warts or blisters. You may find athlete's foot on there. If you've been too long in the sun, especially with socks on, you don't want to go anywhere near anyone's feet, no matter how exclusively alone or how much you are side by side with the person that you are with, or you live with, or you've been traveling with. The feet are just not the place to go anywhere near, because there's nothing new about them. There's nothing newer and newer. They've aged, they've smelt, they've traversed whatever distance of travel. And that's just the nature of human feet. And if any of you are fans of tasting salt and vinegar crisps, you'll never eat them in the same way ever again after this description. So no amount of pedicuring, no amount of nail varnishing can rectify the newness of our feet. And that's just the sad reality. But here in Dwarka, here are the queens. And Krishna's, here he is, he's sitting back on his seat and he's exposing his feet. And Navam Navam Pade Pade. At every step, these feet are newer and newer. And though these queens, goddesses of fortune, by nature are, they like to move around, they like to janchalam, they go from one place to another, but they do not leave the feet of Krishna. They just remain fixed. So Krishna cannot be mundane, because mundane feet are not newer and new. Mundane feet are decaying and smelly, especially after travel. Krishna after travel, wow, these feet are newer and newer. We want to stay close to them. So though Krishna appears and performs what appears to be mundane activity, especially in the company of women, his feet are very, very different. Navam Navam Pade Pade. So we can just remember those words. Krishna's feet, Navam Navam Pade Pade. Tathapi, Tasya Angrahi Yugam Navam Navam Pade Pade. Krishna's lotus feet are newer and newer every step. Pade Pade. Now the other extremity, I'm going to come back to lotus feet in a moment. The other extremity is this: violence, complete mode of passion. Now, the Lord was pacified after killing those kings who were burdensome to the earth. They were puffed up with their military strength, their horses, elephants, chariots, infantry. He himself was not party to the fight. Now, that's an important thing. Krishna created this amazing violence, millions and millions and millions of soldiers slaughtered on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He didn't fight, though. He actually didn't fight. He came close in the episode with Bhishma. but he didn't fight. He simply created hostility between the powerful administrators, and they fought amongst themselves. He was like the wind. Now, when there's friction between bamboos and we get fire, that friction is really instigated by the wind. So Krishna is the producer, the director, the writer of the Mahabharata, and he brings everyone's attention of intrigue to hear Bhagavad Gita and then to see the amazing fighting take place, the valor, the vigor, the strength, the various arrangements of weapons, the great soldiers that come together, and the great fights between those soldiers that really add a lot of excitement. But he is the arranger. He is the wind between the bamboo of those soldiers that saw the slaughter of them. But why is he the wind? Because there were demoniac forces that had to be removed. Glanir bhavata, yada yada hi dharmasya, glanir bhavati bharata. And then paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chatushkritam. So to annihilate the demons, he brought them all together, annihilated them. He was the wind, though he didn't lift a finger. He didn't lift a weapon. He was the wind. So he wasn't involved in the violence. That's another extremity of the mundane mode of passion. But he was above that mode, instigating it in order to rid the demoniac force that was burdening the earth. So the third verse here, which talks about the Lord's appearance and how he engaged in enjoying with competent women as if engaged in mundane affairs, his affairs are not really mundane, because the two captivating principles that bind the soul to this world, kama, krodha. And in chapter 3, Krishna concludes this when Arjuna asks, why is it that we're forced to act in a way that we don't even want to? So even people who have discrimination, even people who have spiritual knowledge, may sometimes fall foul of kama esha, krodha esha. It just shows that we're in the mundane mode of passion. We're in the mundane conditioning of this world. So, but Krishna is not. Navam pade pade. His feet are newer and newer. And when it comes to violence, he's the wind. He's the wind. And everybody else is just coming together with within their respective modes of passion, within their respective motivations. Yet people like Arjuna are also above that, because they're fighting purely for the purpose of dharmasya, for the purpose of establishing religion as Krishna wants. Now I want to go back to Navam Pade Pade. This week I was reading the third canto, beginning of third canto, and I, in chapter 5, was reading Vidura's talks with Maitreya. And Vidura's request is, please tell me about the pastimes of the Lord. And I mean, that's another topic, how Maitreya begins to respond to that question or that request. Please tell me about the pastimes of the Lord. And Maitreya begins with creation. He begins to talk about Mahatattva. He begins to talk about sky. He begins to talk about fire. He begins to talk about earth, water, and the various sensual experiences that the created beings have within these. He begins to talk about how each of these experiences, each of these elements, each of these aspects of creation are controlled by a variety of demigods. But then he draws attention to the demigods and their prayer for creation. He says that the controlling deities of all above mentioned physical elements are empowered expansions of Lord Vishnu. They are embodied by eternal time under the external energy, and they are his parts and parcels. He goes on to say that they were entrusted with the various universal duties and functions, yet the demigods began to feel that they were unable to perform them. And when they were feeling this great anxiety of being unable to perform them, they offered fascinating prayers to the Lord. And then Maitreya Muni, he speaks 7 prayers or 7 insights that the demigods shared or prayed to the Lord. And there are 7 consecutive verses that describe Navam Navam Pade Pade, that describe the lotus feet of the Lord. And I wanted to draw our attention to these beautiful prayers so that we can really understand what does it mean for Krishna, lotus feet, Navam Navam Pade Pade. Just as the queens are seeing this, the demigods are also seeing this, and they're appealing and specifically petitioning the Lord. We can't do this service that you've asked us to do. We don't feel competent to do this. And I was just hearing those words in the prayer just made me feel that this is actually our voice. This is the voice of the devotee. All of us gathered here, every devotee. This is how we come before Radha Madhava, and we look at their feet and we say, I can't do this. You've asked me to do this. You're engaging me. The devotees are engaging me. How do I do this with full competence? So there's something truly amazing in these verses that I think will capture all of us and engage our mind in addressing the lotus feet of Madhava. Here we see them. And I'm going to show different decorated feet of Madhava, and my gratitude to all the pujaris who offer this decoration every day, and Seva Priya Mataji, who sent me these images and helps to oversee the decoration of Madhava's lotus feet every day. So let us hear these verses that glorify Navam Navam Pade Pade, and how the demigods are requesting in so many different glorifications of the lotus feet of the Lord, this, how am I going to serve you? How am I going to fulfill this duty of creation, this duty of maintenance, this duty of material elements and all of that you've entrusted us with? How are we going to do that? So here's the first verse. The demigods said, O Lord, your lotus feet are like an umbrella for the surrendered souls, protecting them from all the miseries of material existence. All the sages under that shelter throw off all material miseries. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet. So here we can do that. Here is Madhava wearing this beautiful green. Maybe it's turquoise. Next. O Father, O Lord, O personality of Godhead, the living entities in this material world can never have any happiness because they are overwhelmed by the 3 kinds of miseries. Therefore, they take shelter of the shade of your lotus feet, which are full of knowledge, and we also thus take shelter of them. So remember that the demigods are praying for guidance in performing their service. So they use this word Dataha, oh Father, because they've been entrusted with the business of the administration of the world. And we hear that the lotus feet of the Lord are full of knowledge. Now, in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text 10, we know the how Krishna reciprocates with his devotees. Desham shatata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yena mam upayanti te. He gives the knowledge by which we can come to him. But the lotus feet of the Lord are full of knowledge. So in any situation of anxiety, any situation of doubt, any situation of misunderstanding, just taking darshan, becoming absorbed in these beautiful lotus feet of Madhava, which are full of knowledge, they will guide us with knowledge through the miseries that we experience in this material world. Next, the demigods continue. The lotus feet of the Lord are by themselves the shelter of all places of pilgrimage. The great, clear-minded sages, carried by the wings of the Vedas, always search after the nest of your lotus-like face. Some of them surrender to your lotus feet at every step by taking shelter of the best of rivers, the Ganges, which can deliver one from all sinful reactions. Do we need to go on pilgrimage? Yeah, we can go to Rashimid. We can go to Sevapriya Mataji's house and we can peep through the window and we will be in the place where all places of pilgrimage have taken shelter of the lotus feet of Madhava. The Ganges can be found there, which will purify us of all sin. Every place of pilgrimage. Pilgrimage means transformation. Pilgrimage means upliftment. Pilgrimage means we come back a better person, a better devotee. And by having darshan of these beautiful feet, the demigods are reaching out to connect with these lotus feet because they know that they don't need to go anywhere else throughout the universe, bathing here or bathing there. All of that experience is available. Here they are. It's available. It's available here on the screen. It's available in taking darshan. And when I was thinking of this particular verse, I was thinking and glorifying and thinking how glorious actually our pujaris are, because they get to put the anklets on, they get to put the rings on, they get to put the tulsi leaf, they get to put the flowers, they get to polish, rub, they get to wash, clean these lotus feet, the resting place of all places of pilgrimage. So whichever day the pujari is serving Krishna, serving Madhava, they're actually completing every pilgrimage you could ever think of. Just by this verse. In the purport to this verse, Prabhupada, I'll just read this line, it's very nice. He says that the river Ganges and Bhagavad Gita are the chief sources of transcendental happiness for mankind, and intelligent persons can take shelter of them to go back home, back to Godhead. So by taking shelter of Madhava's feet, we're taking shelter of all places of pilgrimage, including the river Ganges. Next, it gets better and deeper. Simply by hearing about your lotus feet with eagerness and devotion, and by meditating upon them within the heart, one at once becomes enlightened with knowledge, and on the strength of detachment, one becomes pacified. We must therefore take shelter of the sanctuary of your lotus feet. So by meditation, by hearing about these glories, just by reading these verses with eagerness and devotion, and bringing the impression of these beautiful feet of Madhava into our heart, the only experience that awaits us is the experience of enlightenment, the experience of knowledge, the experience of detachment, the experience of being pacified by the pangs of mundane experience. this is what awaits us. This is what awaits our meditation on the beautiful lotus feet of the Lord. And it is there that we then take shelter and find sanctuary in this world, in the dwelling place of the Lord's lotus feet. Navam navam pade pade. And then, O Lord, you assume incarnations for creation, maintenance, and dissolution of cosmic manifestation. And therefore we all take shelter of your lotus feet, because they are always award, remembrance, and courage to your devotees. Now remember the question of the demigods: how are we going to do this? How are we going to serve you? We're not competent enough. We're feeling that we're not competent with this. But the meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord awards two things: remembrance and courage. Remembrance, I'm a servant of Krishna, I'm a servant of my Guru, I'm a servant of the mission, I'm an eternal spiritual being. Krishna has given me these beautiful teachings. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna performs these beautiful pastimes. We get remembrance of all of these wonderful things that have become covered by our conditioning. And with that remembrance, we get courage. Let me do this service. Let me give it a go. Let me be guided by the devotees. Let me be guided by the Lord within and without. Let me be guided and see what happens. So the demigods are feeling encouraged now. Your lotus feet, we're meditating on them. We're now remembering our who we are, our role, and we're feeling this courage to serve you. Now the next two verses are also interesting, because the next two verses talk about who the lotus feet of the Lord don't manifest to. Who is bereft of this manifestation of the Lord's lotus feet? But within the description of the next two verses, there is still glory of the Lord's lotus feet. And the next verse particularly is quite moving. O Lord, persons who are entangled by undesirable eagerness for the temporary body and kinsmen, and who are bound by thoughts of mine and I, are unable to see your lotus feet. Now listen to this next line. Although your lotus feet are situated within their own bodies, but let us take shelter of your lotus feet. The Lord is sitting right next to us as a friend. The Lord's full appearance is right next to us within our heart, which means his lotus feet are within. His lotus feet are within our body. But we have no realization of that, because we're bound by thoughts of mine and I, temporary body and kinsmen, and we have this eagerness. Of course, as devotees, we have realization around all of those things as well, and progressing in detachment. But it changes our vision of every single person that we meet in the world. The Lord's lotus feet reside in this body. The Lord's lotus feet reside in that body. The Lord's lotus feet reside in the animals. The Lord's lotus feet reside in all living beings. And so when we become fixed on our meditation on the Lord's lotus feet, we can also become fixed on the meditation of the Lord's lotus feet being present in the body of every single person. And then finally, Maitreya Muni refers to this final prayer of the demigods. A great Supreme Lord, final in this series. The demigods, of course, come back in other cantos with so many other beautiful prayers. O great Supreme Lord, offensive persons whose internal vision has been too affected by external materialistic activities cannot see your lotus feet, but they are seen by your pure devotees, whose one and only aim is to transcendentally enjoy your activities. So who can see these feet? Pure devotees. Who can't see them? those affected by external materialistic activity. We cannot see. But only the pure devotion reveals these feet, sees these feet, meditates on them. And so the demigods have, through these prayers, got themselves to the point of surrendering to pure devotional service as part of the service that they need to engage in looking after and administering just the basic elements. They're just looking after earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And now at the end of these prayers, they're surrendered and feeling quite ecstatic. So these prayers, please see the reference. It's Canto 3, Chapter 5, beginning at text 39. They're a wonderful meditation for us in our service to Krishna, in our service to Radha Madhava, in our service to Srila Prabhupada. When we're feeling that, I mean, the demigods are just looking after the elements here, at least in Prabhupada's mission, I could say we get to do things which might be far more exciting than just looking after earth, water, fire, air, and ether. We get to dress Radha Madhava, we get to put on Rath Yatra, we get to raise funds, we get to go door to door, which, they're very relishable activities. We get to cook for Krishna and so on. But sometimes we may come across some service which is not so relishable, and we may kind of think, well, really? I don't think I have the competence for this. We may come across service that we feel, this is way beyond me. How am I going to do this? But by following the example of the demigods here in Canto 3, Navam Navam Pade Pade, the lotus feet appear newer and newer at every step. And every step that we take, we can come closer and closer and closer to these lotus feet of Madhava and imprint them deeply within our heart. So let me just summarize what we've heard in these prayers through Maitreya Muni by the demigods. 9 things. I picked up 9 things in studying these verses of what Lord Krishna's lotus feet offer us. They offer us an umbrella, protecting us from material misery, misery of this body and mind, misery that others give us, misery of the environment and material nature. These feet are full of knowledge, and so by turning to them, Krishna reciprocates and fills us with knowledge, or the knowledge that's required. Krishna knows what we need, what's missing, and the meditation on these lotus feet will give us that knowledge, because knowledge resides there. It's full of knowledge. Krishna's feet are the shelter of all places of pilgrimage. That's the pilgrimage we want to go on, the pilgrimage of serving those feet, the pilgrimage of meditating on these feet, the pilgrimage of offering everything to these feet. And pilgrimage means transformation. We become transformed by that connection and meditation. By hearing about the glories of the lotus feet, by hearing that the Lord's feet are an umbrella, that the Lord's feet are full of knowledge, the Lord's feet are full of pilgrimage, we become enlivened with knowledge. We become enlivened. We become pacified with detachment, the strength of detachment. That's what these lotus feet will give us. These lotus feet become our sanctuary. Where else can we really live in this world? We can live in a house, we can live under a tree, we can live in a cave, we can live in some dwelling. But the residence of the heart is the sanctuary of the lotus feet of Krishna. That's our residence in spiritual meditation and consciousness. The lotus feet award especially 2 things. They award remembrance and they award courage. Keeping the Lord's lotus feet close to us, we can always be fearless no matter what we do and where we go. Feel that courage from the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord's lotus feet are situated in all bodies. We begin to change our vision as to where these lotus feet are. Of course, we can create a specific meditation in our heart of Madhava's feet, but just understanding that these feet are everywhere in every living being, because the Lord is everywhere. And the Lord's lotus feet are seen by pure devotees. So we can remember these 9 attributes of Madhava's feet when taking darshan of him, when taking darshan of his feet. We can give more attention to darshan of his feet. And of course, our darshan is meant to begin with the feet. And then gradually we rise to see with eagerness his smiling face. So I couldn't help myself looking at these verses and thinking that with so many devotees gathered here, it would be wonderful to hear from all of you. So now I'm going to give everyone an activity to do. Whatever thoughts you have right now, whatever you've got up with today, whatever's on your mind, whatever that anxiety might be, or whatever that pressure might be, tension, or whatever the joys in your mind that might be right now, I'd like you to take one of these 9 attributes of the Lord's lotus feet that you feel is most relevant to you right now. Maybe it's the umbrella protecting from material misery. Maybe it's, I want to be pacified and from the strength of detachment. Maybe it's remembrance and courage. Maybe it's just changing your vision to see Krishna lotus feet in every body. Maybe it's reaching out to find that place of pure devotion so that we can see Krishna. One of these attributes right now is going to speak to each and every one of us. That's for sure. Because these are the attributes that the demigods reflected on as part of their petition to do their service in the right way for Krishna. So I'd like to give a few moments for everyone to just enter into this beautiful meditation on Madhava's feet. Pick one of these attributes and make a prayer. Write a prayer. My dear Madhava, please pacify me with the strength of detachment. You can add some more words to that. Connected in a personal way to whatever's on your mind, whatever's ahead of you, whatever's challenge you're contending with this morning. I'm going to give you a few moments, and then I'm going to open up the floor, and we're going to glorify Madhava's feet through each and every one of you. And then we'll end our class today. So hopefully you're all writing your prayers. You can use the chat if you like, if you want to upload the prayer. Maybe take a pencil, pull out your phone, go to notes and start writing. Pick one of these attributes. Think about Lord's lotus feet. Think about what's on your mind. Think about what prayer do you want to petition. You know, if we could leave a prayer at these beautiful feet on the screen, what would that prayer be for you today? Let's see who's gathered. Okay, we have quite an illustrious gathering. I look forward to hearing some illustrious prayers. Seva Priya Mataji, are you with Radha Madhava right now, or are you listening elsewhere?
Hare Krishna. I'm in the next room. I left the pujaris. They're listening, but they're in the temple room.
Okay, so Radha Madhava will directly hear these prayers.
Yeah. For sure.
Lovely. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, we have one prayer in the chat. Harsh, would you like to read that out so Radha Madhava can hear your voice and they can hear you express your words? Please unmute and read that out. If you're able to unmute. Okay, I'm going to read it out for you, Harsh. Strength to go forward with knowledge and understanding of divine teachings of the Lord. So Harsh is requesting from Radha Madhava, he's requesting strength to go forward with knowledge and understanding of divine teachings of the Lord. And may the Lord bless you with strength and knowledge and understanding of his divine teachings. Thank you. Okay, let's begin. Let's begin hearing. Whoever's ready, you can unmute and share your prayer. Yes, Mother Janaki.
Okay, Hare Krishna. I've just scribbled something down quickly. So the one that struck me was remembrance and courage. Okay. Dear Madhava, today we've heard the glories of your lotus feet that give us remembrance of who we are, of who you are, and who we are in our relationship with you, and the purpose of our lives to be your eternal servants. Kindly bestow the courage so that we can engage fully in your service that we feel not qualified to fulfill. Please, may I be a useful instrument to serve you as you wish. Hare Krishna.
Nice, thank you so much. And it sounds like you were praying on behalf of all of us there, Mataji, with that particular request. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
I see Gaur Krishna Prabhu unmuted.
Yeah. The specific quality that I selected was to be pacified with the strength of detachment. So this is my prayer. Dear Madhava, please pacify my heart with detachment from the mundane affairs of this world so that I may become your pure devotee.
Wow. Straightforward, simple, quite a big ask. May you be endowed with that ask, an experience of detachment. Seva Priya is unmuted.
Okay. Dear Radha Madhava, please always keep me close to your divine lotus feet. I always want to feel enlivened with the knowledge of your mercies and be able to share this knowledge with others. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. And of course, you have no choice but that they keep you close. And thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, who would like to go next? Simply unmute and share your prayer. Otherwise, I'll start reading names. Shashidhar, you have unmuted.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Good to have you here.
Yeah. So in the morning, I was just to give a bit. In the morning, I was thinking, okay, what do I have to do today? And I remember, oh, there is a class from Pradyumna Prabhu today. So with respect to these 9 glories, I want to make a prayer. Oh Lord, please specify me with the strength of detachment to be with the devotees, and also award me remembrance and courage make a move to Leicester, which I've been thinking a lot. I'm quite comfortable here, but with the pacified, with strength of detachment, and with award of remembrance and courage, I think I and to make a move to Leicester. That's my prayer to dear Madhava. Hare Krishna.
May that be granted. Lovely, thank you, Sashida. Karuna Chaitanya Prabhu, would you like to read out the beautiful words you've posted in the chat?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Guru. Hare Krishna. Dear Radha Madhava, please continue to provide me and my family a protection from material miseries and give us strength to progress in our bhakti. Miseries are inevitable, but with your protection only it is possible to tolerate and overcome them. Hare Krishna.
Lovely, thank you. And thank you so much for overseeing this class every Sunday, despite you being in India right now.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it's now time to call on some names. Everybody's being a little shy. I want everyone to offer at least a few words to Madhava's lotus feet today. Is anyone going to start unmuting? Or shall I invite?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I'll unmute if that's okay. Bhaktiman.
Bhaktiman Prabhu, yes, please.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful class. By the way, it's wonderful, wonderful inspirational points. Thank you for that. So the point I'd like to say is focus on is the umbrella. Please, oh dear Lord, please protect me from material miseries and engage me in these 9 glories of your lotus feet, all 9 of them, and free me up so that I can actually broadcast and distribute this holy name, engage in the Yuga Dharma, which is essential for this most sojourn Yuga, this sojourn Kali Yuga, which is full of suffering, full of anxiety, full of distress, and make an attempt make an attempt at being the change that I want to see in this world. Hare Krishna.
Wow, you took all 9. That's amazing.
Have to be busy.
Yeah, spiritual greed is allowed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bhaktiman Prabhu. Okay, let's see who's going to go next. Okay, I'm going to read out some names, and I'm just reading out because you're here and reminding you that we're going to hear from you. So alphabetically going down my list, we have, not alphabetically, just going down my list, we have Rakshita Radhika, we have Chandni, Gokuleshwari Mataji, we have an iPhone, we have Jagannath Seva and Tulsi, we have Kishori, we have M's phone, Nikalesh Krishna, Pritha, who might be serving the lotus feet right now, Rati Manjari, Sachitanaya, I'm sure you've got a few prayers. We have S. Panta, Shruti Rupa. So keen to hear from you. Oh, Nimai has a hand up.
My prayer to Radha Madhava, dearest Radha Madhava, you are the shelter of all beings. Please allow me to be relieved of the fire of material miseries and to take the cooling shelter of your lotus feet, where I can go forward and learn to serve you with courage, free from all fear and anxiety.
Lovely, thank you. Rakshita Radhika?
Thank you, Prabhu. What comes to mind is full knowledge and protection So my prayer would be, Dear Lord Madhava, I offer my humble obeisances to your lotus feet. I beg of your mercy to give me the knowledge to be able to serve my spiritual master, the devotees, and your lotus feet without causing any offenses. I am so weak in my mind and in my heart. I ask for wisdom and understanding. And without the protection of your lotus feet, my family, all the devotees gathered here, and all living entities are always in danger at every step. Hare Krishna.
Wow, that was very deep and fulfilling, I would say. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And one thing I'm realizing, each devotee's prayers is relevant to each and every one of us. So we can also learn something in terms of how each devotee is praying here. Okay, next on my list is Chandni. Chandni, you there?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I'm still writing it.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Yeah. Gokuleshwari Mataji, also in India.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Go ahead.
Dear Radha Madhava, please accept my humble obeisances. Please bestow me with knowledge and shelter, so we always remember you and have the courage to carry out our sadhana and service well. And keep us in your shelter. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Chandni, just let me know when you want to come back. We'll go to Jagannath Seva Prabhu and Tulsi Radhika Mataji.
Hare Krishna. My dearest Radha Madhav, please award me remembrance, this constant reminder that I'm the servant and I'm not the doer. I'm just an instrument. Please allow me to serve you in any capacity that I can. And please provide me courage. For the last few days, I have been feeling a bit anxious as Rath Yatra is approaching. And my meditation is that if the Lord is able to provide me that courage, so I can carry out the service by the blessings of Radha Madhav, all the devotees. Thank you. And I'll pass it to Tulsi Radhika.
My dear Radha Madhav, please award me with the remembrance of these verses so that when we touch your lotus feet when dressing or serve you, we can appreciate your lotus feet more, meditate on them, and remember that not a blade of grass moves without your sanction. So to try to surrender to you and be humble.
Beautiful, thank you. And of course, Jagannath Seva's meditation is 7,000 people are waiting to take prasadam next Sunday. That's quite a meditation. Chandni?
2 minutes. Maybe Sachi can go first.
Sachi, you ready? Otherwise, next on my list is Kishori.
Okay, let Kishori.
Hare Krishna.
Hey, Hare Krishna.
My dearest Madhava, I feel like I haven't seen your beautiful lotus feet in so long. Feeling very sad about that. Please help me never forget how you've protected me from unbearable pains, such as childbirth. My mother always used to remind me that simply by seeing and meditating on your lotus feet, all material and physical pain is vanquished. I can vouch for that wholeheartedly. During some unfortunate and horrific accidents, you completely protected me, because of which I felt absolutely no pain. How could I lose sight of these miracles and protection from pain simply by remembering your glorious lotus feet? So today I beg you to please help me always be mindful of the supreme beauty and power of your lotus feet. Nothing else deserves my attention. Hare Krishna.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Kishori. Sachitanaya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Dear Radha Madhava, as I meditate on your lotus feet, what comes to mind is Prakriti Kriyamani, Gune Karmani. Oh, how's it go? Sorry. Prakriti Kriyamanani, Gune Sarmaseha. How's it go again? I can't even remember the verse anymore.
Ankara Vibhudat. Ankara Vibhudat.
Vibhudat. Yeah, Katham Ithimanyate. Sorry. When you're talking to Radha Madhava and you think you know a verse, all is forgotten. So as I just reflect on the verse of being the doer, with Rath Yatra coming up, 7 days to go, still short of £11,000 for your wonderful festival. I get caught in the trap of thinking that it's all up to me and I'm the one who does it, or no one else does it. So please free me from that thinking, free me from that those thoughts, and please give me the true realization of understanding that everything happens due to your will, due to your mercy, and I'm simply an instrument in this service. And also I pray that when the Rath Yatra is taking place, that we as a congregation can inspire many hundreds and thousands of individuals to come forward and become closer to Krishna by hopefully joining our Bhagavad Gita courses. I pray that we can take care of these individuals on their journey to Krishna. And of course, we take care of our devotees in Leicester too. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Sachitanaya. May the blessing of the shortfall upon you very quickly.
Thank you. Very well.
Chandni?
Hare Krishna, I'm ready now. Okay. Dear Radha Mother, your lotus feet award remembrance and courage. Please grant me the ability to always remember you whilst granting me freedom from all material miseries and attachments. Please allow me to do my duties in full knowledge that your feet alone are the shelter and goal, and your feet alone are newer and newer. Your feet alone are my only goal and aspiration, and everything else is just a distraction.
Lovely. Thank you. I'm glad you took your time with that one. Let's see who. Oh, Nikalesh Prabhu.
Haribol.
Can you hear me?
Hare Krishna. I know I don't have anything to say, but this time I want to ask for protection from material miseries. That's all I want to say, really. That's all I need, really, at the moment, I think.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Haribol.
And Rita, I guess you might be serving.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I'm not serving today, so I've been remembering Radha Madhava and really appreciating your class. So, yeah, here's my prayer. Dear Radha Madhava, please grant my be-like-mind remembrance of the sweetness of your lotus feet, which are newer and newer. Please never let me take Pujari service for granted and make me courageous in your service. Let me be your instrument and bring others to your shelter. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. And I don't know who S. Hunter is.
Sarita from Nottingham.
Roseberry. Sorry.
All right. Yeah, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
So here's my prayer. Oh dear Radha Madhava, whose lotus feet is situated within all bodies, please hear my prayer that I may see your lotus feet in all those I come across today, and that I may be worthy to serve you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, thank you to all the devotees for sharing those beautiful prayers, Radha Madhava, prayers that are inspired by these 9 attributes of the Lord's lotus feet. We can let the prayers that we've offered today not just be for today. Maybe you can build on those prayers, refine those prayers, and just work on it, and keep that meditation of the prayer as part of your connection to the meditation on Madhava's lotus feet. And when you get time, please go and read these verses in Canto 3, Chapter 5, Text 39 onwards, 7 verses, and the purports that help to understand those attributes of the Lord's lotus feet. We've gone over time, but it was worth hearing from everyone who's gathered here today. I want to thank everyone for being put on the spot and enlivening each and every one of us with your words that have directly been heard by Radha Madhava. And thank you so much to each and every one of you who continue to serve in so many different ways here in our small little congregation of ISKCON Leicester at the shelter of Radha Madhava and Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Karuna Chaitanya Prabhu, for the opportunity to be in this association today. Hare Krishna. Shrimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanandi people. Hare Krishna. Thank you all so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you so much,
Prabhu.
Prabhu,
Very-
for wonderful class and engaging everyone as well to offer prayers. Radha Madhava, wonderful. It was brilliant. Thank you so much once again. His Grace Pradyumna Prabhu ki jai.
Jai. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Wonderful
Thank you,
inviting.
Prabhu.
Wonderful. Thank you.